Hey guys, this is my review for Ryse, Son of Rome. So in this game you play as a Roman soldier called Marius Titus, and basically he sees his family murdered in front of him by barbarians, and then he goes off to basically just avenge their death. But I mean, the game's pretty cool. You get lots of cool moves and stuff that you can kill people with, or executions as they call them in the game. It's basically just a hack and slash sort of game. There's not much else to it. I think you can use these pillars, I think they're called, which are basically just spears that you can throw. And then you've also got ballistas that you can shoot. And they're alright. I think ballistas have unlimited ammo. And you can basically just spam them as much as you want in a single player game. Pillars you can use to carry about 5, and you just pick them up at random places. I think the downside with the pillars is that um, you can't use them in certain fights, even if you had them, and they tend to disappear out of your inventory if you pick them up and you're trying to hold on to them for when you actually want to use them, and then they won't be there, which is just really annoying. There's also a huge amount of multiplayer maps and modes in this game. Basically, all the multiplayer is set in a Colosseum, which is one of the single player maps, and they just reenact random battles from the single player game or random adaptations of historical Roman stuff, like what the Colosseum used to do. And you can do co-op missions, and basically you and some other random person around the world or your friend can just roam around fighting people, completing little mini objectives, and then you get gold, which you can use to upgrade your multiplayer character, your gladiator, I think it's called. And yeah, basically, upgrading your gladiator, all you're doing is buying more items for him, which have stats on them. Whereas in single player, you don't get new items for your character. All you get is experience points sort of things, where if you get a certain combo or a certain amount of moves in a row without getting hurt, then you get a higher combo, or if you execute someone, then you might get bonus experience. And then you just upgrade skills for your character. So by skills, I mean you could increase your focus, or increase how much experience you get for when you kill someone using the experience execution. And it might unlock a new way of killing people, or a new way of double killing people. But you don't actually get any new items, or no new armor, no extra strong weapon that can kill people a lot faster. Yeah. I really liked the story in this game. I thought it was really, really well done. They have a good balance of cutscenes and gameplay, whereas a lot of games do quite a lot of cutscenes now, I noticed. But this one seemed definitely to have a good even amount. It's got not a heap of characters that you get to know. Basically, it's always just Marius that you're always just playing with. You don't really get to meet other people. Just maybe one or two other characters that tend to stick with you throughout the entire game, but it doesn't dive heavily into their story of the game. It's mostly just sticking with him. Uh, the graphics were alright in this game. I mean, all the maps and stuff, they all looked really cool. You had lots of exciting things in the background sort of happening that sort of immersed you in the areas. Even though the maps are very one-way paths, there's no real exploration to the game unless you want to look for random scrolls around the maps. Even though they're not far hidden off, they'll usually just be hidden behind a rock or something, and you just have to walk around and get it. There's no open wildness to it where you can just wander off and murder a bunch of people and then come back and carry on. So the maps are very linear. I did notice that there was a problem with the game with on PC, that it stutters quite a lot with the graphics, which it's not where the graphics are too high for your computer. It was just some sort of bad coding, because I noticed that there were about 700 people complaining that all had GTX 900 series cards that were all complaining about the stuttering, whereas people with crappier cards were saying that the game worked fine. So I'm not sure what the problem is with people with those sort of cards. I have one, and mine didn't like the game, even though like auto detect said I could play it on ultra, and then like even turning it down to the minimum settings, I was still getting stuttering. But it was only on like 2 of the stages that you get stuttering, which is the ones that have heaps and heaps of plants and vegetation on the map. So I'm not sure what the problem was. But yeah, but this game is ported from Xbox. It wasn't originally meant to be on PC. I think it came out on PC about a year after Xbox. So I'm not sure if it was some sort of problem between them. But they did a good job of putting the controls over. I know that a couple of games I've played who have originally come out on console have had like the worst controlling. Especially when it comes to hack and slash games, it's kind of annoying to like point your character in some of them, but they did it quite well in this one. Otherwise, there's not like a huge lot to this game, but it's quite short as well. I think it takes about maybe 5 or 6 hours to complete the single player campaign, but then you've also got all the co-op and multiplayer to it. And it's not like a really short multiplayer. There's about maybe 12 co-op missions that you can play in arena. Then you've also got survival rounds, which you can do on about like 6 different maps. And then you've got round-to-round battles, which is where you just like fight with increasing rounds of like bad guys. And I think there's only one map for round-to-round mode. And then you've also got Solar Coliseum modes that you can play, which is basically where you do this. I think there's like they're pretty similar to the multiplayer co-op missions, but there's only maybe 8 or 9 of them, and you just play by yourself, doing little mini objectives in the Coliseum, earning like gold to get more items for your multiplayer character. I did notice though that there are not many people that actually play the multiplayer. You kind of have to go on at certain times of the day. But I did message in like the Steam community thing to see who wanted to play, and got a few people to come play a couple rounds with me in it. Uh, but yeah, but mostly just the single player. There's not heaps to it. You've only got really like maybe 4 buttons that you actually have to worry about, which is your space for basically they like block, and then you can sort of counter attack if you're quick enough. And then you've got shift, which is where you can evade or roll out of attacks, which you have to use if someone glows red right before they hit you. Although if you play on the very hardest difficulty, there's no glowing colors, except for when I think you execute people, then they still glow. But otherwise you have to sort of like know the people's movements, which is probably why they don't offer the hardest difficulty in the game when you first start. You can only play on medium, easy, or hard. So when I first played, I played on hard, but it was still quite an easy game, even on that. On legendary, it's definitely a lot harder. I wouldn't say it's like super hard, because I mean, it's still pretty easy. I think they do quite a few things in legendary difficulty though to increase its difficulty, which does make it a lot harder compared to the hard difficulty that I played it on. But still, I mean, I really don't like games that make you have to play through the entire game once to unlock another level of difficulty. I think if people want to play on like the hardest difficulty possible, then they should be allowed to. They shouldn't have to like work their way up to it. Um, I also don't like that they blanked out a couple of the graphic settings in the game on PC, so that you actually have to go into your actual installation files and edit the configuration files so you can actually change some of the graphic settings, because they auto detect a lot of the settings in the game. So like you join in the game and it's automatically detecting that you can run it on ultra, but since this game stutters quite a lot, I didn't want to play it on ultra. I wanted to play it on a lower, so I had to actually go into the configuration files to alter it, which really annoyed me, especially since like this game does have stuttering problems in their coding, which is just ridiculous. I don't know if there's like another problem that would explain it, but I mean, with the amount of people that were complaining about it in the forums and online and asking for help from the developers, and they just haven't done anything in like over a year and a half, it's kind of ridiculous. But hey, they got their money for the game. Otherwise, I don't think there's like a heap of other stuff to the game. You're basically just right clicking with your shield to like knock people out and stop them from blocking, and then left clicking with your sword. There's not much else to it. It's just basically a behind the shoulder sort of thing running around. I think when they were originally making this game, it was supposed to be in first person, which I reckon probably would have been a lot cooler to play in first person, but when you're kind of playing hack and slash sort of games like this, you tend to get a lot of people that come up behind you to stab you in the back. So I think it's probably better that they did it like this, but I still would have thought it would have been cool to play in first person. The collectible items are not very interesting. They're basically just a bunch of pictures or scrolls that you can read. And you can go into the main menu and just read them like that. There's not much else that you can do. But yeah, if I had to give this game a rating, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 because I really did like it, but it does have a couple problems, and the single player is quite short. I would have liked to have kept playing for a little bit more and maybe had a little bit more variety in enemies. You tend to just get maybe 6 types of enemies in the game, and then in the final stage you get other units, but you can only kill them with crossbow sort of thing. You can't really go up to them and fight them with your sword, which was kind of lame. But still, a very interesting story. I really like the story. They should definitely make this into a film. I was thinking that the moment I finished the game that this should be a film, because I reckon it would be really cool. But yeah, this is just my opinion of the game. If you agree with it or don't agree with it, drop a your favorite of the game in the comments below this video. Otherwise, I'm only going to give it an 8 out of 10. Okay guys, see ya.